Well, Hoaby had exactly one line in this episode, and it was
I can only share my money.
I can work with that. I don't know if I can call this an overanalysis, because there's not really a lot to overanalyse. Having said that, there is one image out there of Hoaby that I can't stop thinking about, which I'll get to later. I mean, last episode I was genuinely like, his hand moved, that means something. 35.5 was, Hoaby's eyes are closed, that means something. That's how desperate I am for Hoaby content. I comb through everything because I just want something. So start where we left off last time, and I can't watch the scene anymore without thinking about Okada accidentally launching the shot rise off the bridge. He talked about that on his YouTube channel, how he got overexcited and it kind of bounced off his leg and he didn't realise and kept going, but the stuff were like, and I think some people had to go down and fetch it. Everyone's absolutely terrified of the arc, and rightly so. The arc is horrifying. I worried that I'd spent too long building the arc up in my head, that when he actually became a character in his own right he couldn't possibly live up to my completely unreasonable expectations. But I was so wrong. The arc is a technopath, which is amazing and has great potential down the line, considering a good portion of the character's a humour gear. Imagine the things he could do. He picks up Jin, just imagine what else he could do. I hope they stick with that idea. I hope they do more with it and it wasn't just a one-time thing. I smell angst potential. And I've always loved sort of glitchy aesthetic, so I'm absolutely in love with this. You know, when the text smashes on the screen. I love that. Jin once again talks to someone. He's sending the arc's combat data to someone, and I wish I could theorise who this is, but I genuinely have no idea. He talked to someone at the end of the 35.5 episode, talking about how the plan is coming together, which I'm upset about. Jin, don't conspire against your dad. Unless it's supposed to be Yua and I'm missing the obvious. But the way they're showing these scenes makes it look like it's supposed to be secret. There's no suspense if it's actually just Yua. They seem to be building this secrecy up, but I don't know what to think. I could just be misreading the atmosphere of those scenes, because he did talk about how it's all going according to plan in 35.5, and Yua knows the plan, so I can see why we're expected to just know it's her, but I don't know, it just seems like something that's going to be revealed later, not something we already know. Anyway, Jin is crap at hide and seek, and the arc finds him easily. And there's something to be said about how the arc dehenshins and makes Hoaby visibly be the one to approach Jin and talk to him before hijacking his body instead. It's very cruel and sadistic. I don't want to talk about Naruto right now. I don't want to talk about how unsympathetic I feel right now. Just because one AI is on a destruction spree doesn't mean all humour gear are bad now. And Naruto being like, can the humour gear really help? Just because the arc is more present now is really disturbing, and I hate that mentality, and it's not one I would expect our hero to have. And like I think I may have said before, I'm all for morally grey characters, but when he isn't portrayed as being morally grey, then it's just infuriating. I mean, that's the wrong side, you know? Why is our hero feeling down about all humour gear because of one person? I shouldn't have to explain why that's not a good mentality to have, but like I said before proceeding to talk about it, I don't want to talk about it. It's honestly exhausting at this point. I don't like being negative, it just bothers me. I mean, it's like, I'm gonna keep talking about it. I like when the writer has that moment of doubt they have to overcome, but the subject, it doesn't work in this case, and still paint him as a sympathetic character, because this is an entire group of people you're talking about. Completely innocent people that have nothing to do with any of it. They have done nothing but be there for you through no will of their own, and now your belief in them is faltering because of one person, and no one's being harsh about it either. It's just chin up, Naruto. How about lying down every single thing a humour gear has done for him and asking him why this one AI's actions means more than all of that? It's like, bear with me, but it's like the arc going, this Amatsu guy is a dick, therefore all of humanity must be extinguished, but like I said, I don't want to talk about it. We have another quick scene of Metsubo Jinrai in the arc room with their eyes glowing red as they say Arc no Ishino Mamani, just to reaffirm that they are all currently hacked and being manipulated by the arc, and they are just as much victims as everyone else. And they are not the villains here. That title belongs to the arc and to Guy, not Hoaby, Naki, Jin or Akazuchi, because they are hacked. Naki gets their new red form, and I don't know how I feel about it being a wolf, because Fua is already a wolf, and I feel like Naki should be allowed their own identity. They shouldn't have to be intrinsically tied to Fua, especially since bodily autonomy isn't really treated seriously in this series. Cien is confined to a fancy Alexa speaker now, and Naruto sounded disappointed in Fua that one time when he said, "I'm not Naki," if I remember correctly. Humagyo identities are tied to how they relate to humans. It just would have been nice if Naki had their own thing. I understand the Japanese wolf was driven to extinction by humans, but I'm sure there are other animals that applies to as well. I think Nakayama actually wanted Naki to be a snake. That would have been cool. And the very first thing they do with it is torment Guy in one of the most adorable scenes. Seriously, Metsubo Jinrai always have the most adorable moments. Also, this leads to one of my favourite moments with the arc, which I'll get to later. They shred Guy's clothes and leave him in his Zaya undies is what they do, with Aniki's approval. Kazuchi says something, though, which intrigues me. He says, "I've got a lot on hidden intelligence, more so than you." And as always, I'm almost definitely looking too deeply into that. But Izu restored Kazuchi's memories in order to learn about Horobi, right? Even though they already knew about Horobi, but gave them information that they then never touched until now. But they revived Kazuchi's memories when they still had his data key. So does Kazuchi just remember everything now? I think I mentioned this before, I can't remember. I've been thinking about it since that episode, and is that what this is saying? Otherwise, why would he know so much about Hiden, even more so than Guy? I really hope that's the case. I like the idea of Kazuchi having all of his memories intact. The Kazuchi-Naki sibling bond is adorable, and again, I really hope we see more of it. One of my favourite parts of 01 is reading what the cast have to say about it afterwards. Yamaguchi talked about that scene on his channel. He asked whose idea it was to embarrass Guy like that, and he has two ideas. Either it was the playful big brother Kazuchi's idea, because the arc told Naki to go and say hi to Guy, but not to Kazuchi. Why was a Kazuchi there other than to support Naki? So it was either his idea, being like, "Hey Naki, psst, do it like this," or it could be that Naki is deceptively playful and Kazuchi was there to make sure it went smoothly. But Yamaguchi hopes that it was Kazuchi's idea, that he told Naki to embarrass Guy like that, but it was Naki being respectful and very kindly leaving the undies. I like that, that's how I hope it went. I like the idea of Kazuchi being a playful influence on Naki. So Guy's like, shit, the Ark is a Kamen Rider now, and gets Ames to move in with him, and they confront the Ark. When Naki confronted Guy, he said, "Naki, how dare you stroll in so brazenly?" And when Guy confronts the Ark, he says, "Nice of you to so brazenly stroll in." The Ark has sass. I love when characters like this have such a strong personality like that. It's like in Doctor Who when Van Staten was like, "I just wanted you to talk," and the Dalek goes, "Well, hear me talk now, exterminate." You don't expect that from that kind of character. Oh, I love the Ark. I mean, I don't. I love the Ark the same way I love Guy. And even then, Guy is worse than the Ark, because he's the reason the Ark's like this in the first place. The Ark is still an AI programmed to behave this way. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Metsubo Jinrai appear walking down that catwalk. They're so cool together. For fans of Metsubo Jinrai like me, most of this series has been spent waiting for Kazuchi to be revived, waiting for Jin to be revived, waiting for Horobi to get out of the basement, waiting for Naki to be taken out of First Head, waiting for Horobi to get screen time. But moments like these are so worth it. Oh, they're so cool, look at them! This fight is quite possibly one of my favourites. They henshin in perfect unison, Kazuchi using the other hand like the rebel he is. Seeing them all fight Guy just feels so deserved. Kazuchi and Naki really made up for not having been in the series all that much. Kazuchi and Horobi fight together so well. I love how Kazuchi chucked his weapon aside to go in with a punch. Kazuchi jumped to the sky, which naturally turned into a rider kick. And I was wrong, Horobi does indeed get another line, he says "behind you" when Guy intercepts Kazuchi's kick. They just fight together so well. But then Aruto Metal Cluster Hopper's Arc 0 and Jin breaks free for a moment to tell him to just do it before the Arc regains control. And that's cool and all, good for Jin, but I feel like that's a moment that would have been more powerful elsewhere. We just had episodes about Horobi starting to move by himself to protect Jin. That one action was a huge step for him. And I have to say that I don't believe Horobi can completely break free by himself. It's been a lot longer for him and the effects run deeper for him that he'd need actual outside help. But I feel like if Horobi had hesitated for a second before the Arc regained control and attacked Jin, that would have been a lot more powerful. Wow, okay, so apparently my laptop has decided it's had enough and don't want to record properly, so God knows how the rest of this video or the next few videos are going to be like. I've just spent the past few hours trying to fix it, it does not want to work. Come on laptop, I only have a few of these left, don't be an arse. I'll admit, I don't know how to feel about the next episode. Guy gets a redemption story. Guy, the guy who shot Naki in the head, who killed Bingo because he said something he didn't like, who has accusations of sexual harassment, that guy is getting a redemption because he had a cute dog. Guy is getting a redemption of both Metsubo Jinrai, who are hacked and manipulated by the Ark, who Guy is responsible for in the first place, In what universe does Guy deserve a redemption arc? I am bloody looking forward to Ibo though. I do need to take a minute to talk about Ibo for a second, because wow, did I freak out when I saw Ibo for the first time. He has facial recognition software, and the more you interact with him, the more he bonds with you, specifically you. You essentially shape his personality. I wonder if Ibo bonded with Sakuragi while filming. That would be cute. I can't believe they're filming with an actual AI. I can't stress how amazing this is. I want to know what filming with Ibo was like. He does only have a battery life of 2 hours though, I think, but you can then tell him to essentially go to bed and he'll go to his charging station himself. Another thing that supposedly happens is that the space centre Ikazuchi and Subaru worked at gets attacked, which is interesting. I hope that means they'll be focused on Ikazuchi at least, otherwise that's a very weird place to choose. It's very specifically sentimental, but you know, that's looking through the lens of a friend of Mespo Jinnai who wants Horobi, Ikazuchi and Aki to get some focus too. I hope, and it won't, of course it won't, but I hope what's happening is that Jin breaks free like he does, because of course he does. Then something at the space centre makes Ikazuchi have an emotion or two and his memory of Subaru helps him break free, and then something happens with Naki to help them break free, and then they all help break Horobi free because he is far too broken by the arc to do it himself. That would be the ideal ending for me. Very quickly, because this is going on forever, I've basically talked for over 10 minutes about absolutely nothing. This is the image, and I've been thinking about it all week. Does he look sad? Does this mean anything? Am I overthinking what is going to end up being a completely out of context motion shot? Almost definitely. But when you're desperate, this is what you've got to do. Overthink one probably meaningless image, because it's all the horrible content we're getting. For the love of God, give us our dad back.